Now, isn't that a wonderful gospel to start out with all you families? 2,000 years ago, at the time of Jesus, even people in families fought. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands to say, in your family, have there ever been disagreements or irritations? We won't go there. It happens in the best of families. But here, it's partially around, they were fighting over religion and fighting over what does it mean to have faith in Jesus. And I want to go back to that for us today. Making a couple other points. Some of you know, by the way, I'm Father Norm Douglas, the pastor here, and Deacon Andy, he's our deacon. And we're glad to have all of you here. And for me, you don't realize this, but for me, this very summer is 60 years ago when I became a freshman at the University of Akron. Which if you got good math going for you, especially getting in high school, that means that I was 18, I'm 78 years old. But when I go back to that year, 60 years ago, I know, and before that, my high school, I went to Akron North. Many of you know that. I did not go to a Catholic high school simply because I wasn't Catholic. And high school, I wasn't anything. I wasn't going anywhere. But for me, then that summer of 1965, 60 years ago, changed everything. And I'm so grateful for it. And I share that with you as a witness of faith. And for me, some of you have heard the story. Well, you're going to hear it again. Just to tell you a little bit more background. For me, as I mentioned, that all through high school, when I was a little kid, I went to a church in the area. But in high school, I didn't go to church anywhere. My mom didn't push it on me, but, and she herself wasn't sure about the whole religion thing. But anyway, there I was in high school, and high school at North, back then, 60 years ago when I graduated, it was pretty good. I mean, I got excellent grades. I was well-liked in school. I joined a lot of activities which I valued and which became a part of me even for these years later. But as I mentioned, I wasn't going to church. Church wasn't even on my mind. And I get it. Some of you may feel, yeah, that's where I'm at today. Whether you're a ninth grader or 45 years old, sometimes church may be the furthest thing from our mind. But for anyway, there I was, and again, basically living a happy, good life. I did enjoy high school. But near the end of my high school year, there was friends of mine who, by the way, they just last week celebrated 66 years. No, they're going to not 56 years of marriage, and their names are Fred and Eileen. But I bring that up because in high school, they were voted the most highly respected seniors in our class. And they were going to North, but every day before they went to high school, they were going to St. Martha on North Hill to daily mass on their own at 7:30 in the morning before school. And a lot of us didn't know that, but I know when I saw them and started to get to be close friends with them, because we double dated sometimes. Now back then, and remember, I'm not in the priesthood yet. I was allowed to date, you know. So, and I still have fond memories of that too, but that's 60 years ago also. We won't go there, okay? Okay. But anyway, so I got to be close with them. And talking with them. And with them, when I was around them, I had a great high school, but I saw in them something missing in me that I didn't realize it. Again, remember, they were voted just the most highly respected. They had such a positive attitude. They had such a genuine care for other people. They had deep core values. You saw that in them. And you saw it came from their faith. And in terms of their faith, they weren't trying to push it, but they pushed it. They showed it powerfully because they lived it. They lived it. They were so kind to me. My mom's single parent. We had some issues, this and that. They helped me out. They helped my mom out. It meant so much. And as I saw that, I was wondering, why? Why are they so good? Why do they seem to have such a meaning and purpose to their life that I didn't yet have? I wasn't sure what kind of work I was going to do. I wasn't sure where I was going to school. And I felt insecure because I'm leaving some of my friends. But they had something. And I remember they asked me that year, I said to you, Happy Easter, that senior year of 1965, Easter Sunday, they asked me, because they knew that I didn't go to church anywhere, and so they asked me, they said, hey, we're going to church, it's Easter Sunday, would you like to come with us? And I remember saying to them at the time, being polite, but again, church wasn't on my mind, and so I thought, well, no. And I remember, you got to come up with an excuse, right? My excuse, it's going to be too crowded. It's Easter, it's too crowded. No, thank you for inviting me. Well, would you know? And remember, they went to church every day before high school, and it meant a lot to them and helped shape who they were. But they asked me the very next week, and I'll still never forget, 60 years ago, they say, hey, it's not Easter. I guarantee you it's not going to be that crowded now. You know, come on. And I thought, well, I should go. They asked me. They're good friends. The least I can do is show up once. You know, that's all I was expecting. God is full of surprises. But so I showed up. And they had asked me at St. Martha. And I was there, and a lot of it you need to understand. There's the essence of our faith is still there, but some of it was in Latin, and some of it not being Catholic. I didn't know when you were supposed to stand, when you were supposed to sit, what you were supposed to do. You know, I was always looking around and everything. But even through all of that, I sensed something there. And part of it, I think, when I go back, even when I was a little kid, probably 5, 6 years old, I had a certain religiosity. I was already learning about Jesus and thought Jesus was important. He was my friend. I remember that. But I got away from all of that in high school. And so when I came to church, it reminded me again of something beautiful and good. Wow, yeah, Jesus was still my friend. This Jesus was somebody who knew me, some of the thoughts I had that weren't the best thoughts, some of the way I acted, especially toward my mother, wasn't always kind and loving. But coming there, and even as I said at the beginning of Mass, when we ask God's forgiveness, it was one of the things I learned then, the Lord is the one who knows us best. He knows all that stuff about us, the good, the bad, the ugly. He knows us best, and He loves us most. He loves us most. And so I was picking that up already. And Fred and Eileen had that kind of attitude and were so kind toward me. And so I thought, there's something good here. Maybe I ought to come one more week, you know, and check it out. And so I came back the following week. And I saw in that, I didn't go to communion because I wasn't Catholic at the time, but I saw people going to communion, and even that, I remember saying, wow, they're sharing in Jesus' love in a special way. And again, I know here there are people probably Christian, Catholic, people of other faith traditions, but we're all here together. And the one thing is Jesus, the Spirit of Jesus is with every one of us here. Whatever our faith background, because that Spirit of Jesus is the Spirit of love who wants us to come together. And that's what I came to realize that first week too, that Jesus doesn't just want to touch us individually, He does. We all need to have a personal sense of this Jesus who loves us deeply, wants us to remember that, wants us to have that be a positive influence on our life, and wants us to share it like Fred and Eileen. But again, wants us together. I mean, how much more it means when we come together. And even going to the high school together, high schools, Catholic high schools I see here. I've been in this parish and being with the school for 10 years. And just the spirit of the high school, because we need each other. Just like I didn't know I needed Fred and Eileen, but we need each other to help each other be our best, to help each other come to know this Jesus who's friend for every one of us. to help each other when we're messing up, or when we're lonely, or when we're going through confusion, that the Lord works through the people and the friends in our lives. And those friends, especially in high school, are meant to be sacred. And of course, in family life, because it starts there. So I look at that. Well, as you know, the rest of the story quickly can be, I kept going back to church and to this Catholic church, and I thought there's something here. And that summertime when I worked for the city of Akron, I'd go every day with Fred and Eileen. They also worked downtown, and we'd all go to St. Bernard to church over lunch hour. And that meant so much, being together and talking about what we hear, the preaching and everything, which was good. And then in the fall, I went to the University of Akron, as I said, as a freshman. And there, my freshman year, I went into the Newman Center, which was the Catholic Student Center, and there was a priest there who gave me instructions or guided me to say, hey, if you're looking into the faith, you want to get closer to Jesus, let's talk. And so we had, I still remember, every Monday night at 7 p.m., we had these great sessions talking. And we talked about Jesus, and we talked about God's love, and we talked about the direction for my life and where I could go. And it meant so much. And I thought of this priest, Father Tom Dunphy, because in a second reading today from the letter to the Hebrews, part of that letter says, keep your attention fixed on Jesus. Because back then, 2,000 years ago, that's wisdom for us. And this priest would mention it often throughout his years of priesthood. He died a few years ago. One of his expressions when he preached, keep your attention fixed on Jesus. 60 years ago, and through all these years, and with so many other people, they've said, you know what? That's good advice. Because if we get our attention fixed on everything that's wrong in the world or in us or what's going on, or if we get our attention fixed on worried about what other people think of us, or how much money I'm going to make, or what kind of job I'm going to have, or how much prestige I'm going to have, whatever, all that stuff fades along the way. And it's important, but it's not most important. Keep our attention fixed on Jesus every week. And obviously at grade school here, at the high school, focus always comes back to Jesus. Right here, that's what it's all about for every one of us. A focus on Jesus, God sending His own Son to show us how much He loves us, how much He wants to be part of us, how much He wants us to share that love with each other. That message is needed in the world today more than ever. And Fred and Eileen showed me, and still do, how it's shown by the way we live it, by the way we love, by the way people find in us our faith, a real hope, a meaning, a peace, a joy, that you can't find anywhere else in quite the same way. You know, so it's part of the reason we gather here. So, as all of you young people are about to start in the high school, and families too, that what a difference it can make. So I have one P.S. to this story too. As I said, my mom didn't go to church all the time. That grew up with her. She was a single parent, had a previous difficult marriage, had a lot of tough issues. But when I became Catholic, she was open to that, even though she wasn't. But then I became Catholic. She saw me, she saw my friends in college, and the joy and the positivity we had. And my mother eventually surprised me, because when I was ordained a deacon right before priesthood, deacons could baptize. And my mother came up to me when I was ordained a deacon and said, yeah, I've seen the joy you have here and your friends here. I want to be baptized. I want to become Catholic. And I said to my mom, I said, well, okay, but you got to take some formation or instructions first. And she surprised me. She said, I've already done that. So as a deacon, when you could baptize, my very first baptism was my mother. And I saw the difference that made in her. She had had a difficult life. She had struggled. The marriage went sour. She was abandoned. She was raising me, and I was a handful in high school, and we won't go there. But anyway, she saw the change in me, and one of the greatest gifts of my life was to be able to baptize my mother and see that for the rest of her life, she found a hope and a joy and a meaning in Jesus and Christian community that made a difference in her and a difference in me. It starts with family. It starts with family. And that's what's so wonderful about being here. So take a quiet moment, all of us, wherever we are in this journey. Again, the Lord, I hope you'll know, and many of you already know or will know, what I experienced 60 years ago. And I'm glad, because it's been great. These last 60 years have been a whole lot better than they would have been had I not had that journey first. Take a quiet moment, and then we'll continue on.